Anna Miller is a woman who has achieved everything society expects. A successful pediatrician with a stable career and a strong reputation in the medical field. At the age of 45, she is everything many other women dream of: a steady job, respect from colleagues and patients. But she lacks the most important thing: the laughter of children. Her large home, filled with beautiful paintings and luxurious furniture, always makes her feel lonely. On long evenings after tiring shifts, she often sits alone in the living room, sipping a warm cup of tea, gazing out the window, and feeling an overwhelming emptiness. Anna has always dreamed of having a real family, a family where she can share both the joys and sorrows of life. Her work and professional commitments take up almost all of Anna's time. Sometimes, she wonders where someone like her could find joy when there is no one in her house calling her mom, no one needing her love. However, she doesn't want to dwell too much on it, as it only deepens her sense of emptiness. One morning, just like any other, while Anna sits at the dining table scrolling through news on her tablet, a small article unexpectedly grabs her attention. The article talks about the struggles of the child foster system in the city, with children without homes, older children, and siblings living together who are forgotten. One story in the article is about a 6-year-old boy named James who has lived in foster homes but has never found a place to truly call home. He has endured a lack of love and care. Anna's eyes light up as she reads the words, and a strange feeling rises within her. It's not pity, but a deep connection, an inexplicable empathy. She feels as though she has known this boy for a long time, even though they've never met. In that moment, her heart tightens, and a part of her cannot stop thinking about this boy. Why? She wonders. She has read countless stories about abandoned children, but for some reason, this time, she cannot take her eyes off James. The words describing him make her feel a strange connection, as if an invisible fate has brought her closer to him. That feeling doesn't fade after she finishes the article. Thoughts about James swirl in her mind throughout the day. Anna can't sleep. She stays awake all night, thinking about what she just read. She knows she could help, that she has the ability to create a better life for a child like James. But there is still hesitation in her heart. Anna is used to living alone, perhaps because of work and the pressures of life. She isn't sure if she can do this, if she has the strength to welcome a child who isn't her biological child, to love and care for him in a family without a blood connection. But after a long night of thought, Anna decides that she must act. She will call the foster care center and learn more about James. The next morning, without thinking any further, Anna picks up the phone and calls the center. On the other end, a warm voice of a woman answers. Pinewood Foster Care and Adoption Services. How may I help you? Her voice is gentle but professional. Anna feels nervous, as if standing before a life-changing decision. She swallows hard and speaks confidently. Hello, this is Anna Miller. I'd like to learn more about adopting a child, specifically a boy named James. The woman on the other end is slightly surprised but remains friendly. Yes, James. This boy has been in the foster system for over a year now. His situation is quite special. His father is in prison, and his mother lost custody due to drug addiction. He has no real home. Anna feels a sharp pain in her heart. She wants to hear more, to understand James' circumstances, but what pains her most is the fact that this boy has never had a place he could call home. She can't stop thinking about it. After that conversation, Anna has no doubts left. She knows what she must do. In the following weeks, Anna attends counseling sessions, fills out the necessary paperwork, and passes stringent background checks. This process is not easy, but each time she thinks of James, each time she imagines his innocent face and hopeful eyes, she becomes more determined. She prepares herself for the challenges ahead, whether her family continues to oppose it or not. And finally, when all the paperwork is completed, Anna receives a call from the center, informing her that she has been accepted as James' adoptive mother. That day, Anna feels like she has crossed a long, challenging path, but one filled with joy and hope. She knows that the journey of raising a child who is not her own will be full of difficulties, but she also understands that love and perseverance will help her overcome them all. Anna is ready to open her heart and welcome James into her life, even though things won't always be easy. And in that moment, Anna realizes that the strange connection between her and James is not a coincidence, but a part of destiny, a meeting her heart has been prepared for all along. The day Anna decided to adopt James, her heart was ready. Everything seemed to be set, and she embarked on this journey with an unwavering determination. But Anna had not anticipated that this decision would create a storm within her own family, the loved one she thought she knew so well. Phone calls, shared meals, meetings, all suddenly became tense, distant, and full of opposition. When Anna informed her mother, she was the first to react. Anna's mother, Claire, a sharp-minded and traditionally conservative woman, had always loved her daughter deeply, but was extremely protective of traditional family values. She couldn't understand why her daughter would choose a child who wasn't her biological child, especially a black child, when her family had clear cultural and bloodline values. Anna, do you really think this is the right decision? You're a doctor. You understand the difficulties this child will bring to our family. It's not just because of his skin color, but also because of his circumstances, Claire said, her voice full of concern. Anna remained silent, gripping her coffee cup, feeling the weight of every word her mother spoke. Though she understood her mother's worry, Anna couldn't deny the strong feeling in her heart. She knew James was part of her life journey, that her heart had been connected to this boy for a long time. However, when she heard her mother speak, Anna couldn't help but feel torn between two opposing forces. One side being the love and sacrifice for a child she viewed as her own, and the other being the expectations and protection of family values deeply ingrained in her mother's heart. A few days later, when she decided to continue on this path and proceed with the adoption process for James, Anna encountered her brother, Peter. Peter, a strong and stern man who always viewed matters logically, couldn't remain silent about her decision. Anna, you're pushing yourself into a difficult life. An abandoned child, especially a black child, will bring countless problems, not to mention the discrimination you'll face, Peter countered, his eyes filled with concern. Our family can help others, but adopting a child from outside our life, that's another matter. Peter's words echoed in Anna's mind throughout the entire week. She knew her brother only wanted to protect her, but his perspective made Anna feel as though she was being condemned. Still, she couldn't change her decision. She realized that her love for James wasn't a rash choice, but a calling from her heart. She had seen children in the foster system, older children and siblings separated from one another, and she knew she could provide them with a home, even if it wasn't a biological family. James, although not her biological son, was the child with whom she felt a deep connection. She couldn't give up on him. When she informed her mother and brother that she had completed the adoption process, the atmosphere in the house became heavy. Her mother began to fall into silence, her sad expressions speaking volumes without words. Peter didn't say much, simply shook his head and turned away. The silence felt like an invisible wall surrounding the house, a place that had once been full of laughter and love. Anna's heart ached, but she knew she couldn't turn back. It was then that she realized sometimes the choices she makes could lead to utter loneliness, but they are the path she must walk. After adopting James, everything in her family seemed to grow even more tense. Her mother, although not showing it outwardly, seemed uncomfortable every time she looked at James. She frequently offered suggestions on how to control James better, as the boy sometimes lacked confidence and didn't fully adapt to his new environment. Her mother couldn't avoid comparing James to the children in her own family, even though the boy was now Anna's child, and Anna wanted James to feel loved as a true family member. One evening, after a quiet dinner, Anna's mother casually spoke, as if deliberately attacking her beliefs. Are you sure you can build a stable future for him? A child with no mother, no father. Can you truly love him long term? These words pierced Anna's mind, making her start to doubt if she had the strength to fully take on this role. That evening, Anna sat alone in the living room when she heard a knock at the door. She opened it to find Peter standing there, his face tight but not with anger. Anna, you know I've always worried about you, but don't think I don't understand what you're doing. I just want you to be sure that you're prepared for everything, Peter said, his voice softening, no longer filled with criticism. I don't agree with this decision, but if you've made up your mind, I'll be here. I just hope James can see you as a real mother. Peter's words, though not fully supporting Anna's decision, acted like a bridge, helping her realize that his acceptance had gently blossomed in her heart. And even though her family couldn't completely understand her reasons, Anna felt that her love for James had become stronger than ever. It is in moments like these that Anna realizes that love is not always easy to accept, and family doesn't always agree. But she knows that, in this journey, she must be stronger despite all the opposition to create a real family. A family where there is no discrimination, only love and acceptance. On the first day James stepped into Anna's house, the atmosphere was strangely silent. The wooden door creaked open, and the boy hesitated at the threshold, his eyes scanning the walls and the furniture as if he was checking whether this would be the place where he truly belonged. Anna, with a heart full of anxiety yet overflowing with love, gently bent down, looked at the boy, and smiled. "Welcome home, James," she said, her voice soft, trying to make him feel comfortable. But the prolonged silence made her uneasy. James' hesitant steps made her heart ache, and she realized that not only was the boy starting a new journey, but so was she, a journey full of unknown challenges. James didn't say a word. He just looked around cautiously. He wasn't like the other children Anna had met over the years. He didn't run around, didn't laugh and play like other happy children. Instead, James' eyes seemed to carry a deep sadness, a guardedness that couldn't be hidden. He stood there, as if searching for something familiar, but couldn't find it. Anna sensed the loneliness and uncertainty within James, and she understood that to build a relationship, she would need to be more patient than ever. The first few days of living together were truly not easy. Although Anna had spent a lot of time preparing, from setting up a room for James to choosing items she thought would make him comfortable, reality wasn't as easy as she expected. Every morning, she woke up early to prepare breakfast for both of them, but James often refused to eat, even saying nothing. He sat silently, staring at his bowl of cereal as if unsure of what to do next. Anna's meals became lonely and heavy. She tried to engage in small talk, to gently coax James out of his shell, but all her efforts seemed in vain. One afternoon, while Anna was tidying the living room, she stumbled upon a drawing that James had left on the table. The drawing was simple, yet it contained a world of emotions. In the drawing, there was a small boy standing under a vast sky, gazing up at a single shining star. The boy in the drawing wasn't smiling, but simply staring at the star, as if searching for something, as if wishing for something that would never come. Anna stood still, gazing at the drawing with a lump in her throat. It was the first time she saw James' true emotions reflected outward. The drawing seemed like a cry of loneliness, a longing for a place to belong, and a yearning for love. After that, Anna decided that she would not only take care of James externally, but also reach his heart. She realized she couldn't force him to open up. Instead, she needed to create an environment where he could feel free and gradually trust her love and care. She began changing her approach. Every day, she created opportunities for James to express himself without pressure. She no longer tried to force him to eat, but let him decide when he was ready to eat, allowing him to feel he had control over a small part of his life. Meals no longer became battles, but times for them to talk gently. Gradually, James began to show slight signs of change. One morning, when Anna woke up, she noticed that breakfast had already been prepared. James didn't say anything, but he had left a small cookie on the table, a sign that he was starting to feel some connection. Anna smiled, feeling a spark of hope in her heart. Although they couldn't talk as comfortably as normal children, the boy had begun to open up just a little. A few weeks later, Anna decided to take James to participate in some outdoor activities. She knew that to help him escape the loneliness in his heart, they needed to create fun, relaxing moments where he could find joy in life. She took James to the park where there was a colorful slide. At first, James stood there, staring at the slide, and then looked back at Anna with a doubtful look. Anna gently encouraged him. "Let's give it a try, James. I'll go with you." Her simple words seemed to have an effect. After a few minutes of hesitation, James climbed up the slide, and then he slid down with a smile full of joy, the first genuine smile since he arrived. From that moment, James started to open up more, participating in activities with Anna, gradually leaving behind the fears of his past. He began to enjoy learning, drawing, and even engaging in small games with Anna. Although there were still many gaps between them, Anna could sense a subtle change in how James viewed the world around him, as if he was beginning to find a part of himself in this home. And Anna understood that, even though this journey was just beginning, her patience and love would be the steady bridge helping James overcome all the challenges ahead. However, despite everything seeming to improve, Anna's worries didn't easily fade. She began to realize that not only was James changing, but she herself was also learning to adapt. The love she had for James wasn't an easy journey, and she knew that many challenges still lay ahead. But deep down, Anna understood that this journey, despite its difficulties, was the path she had chosen, the path leading to a real family, where there was love, sharing, and joy. Time passed, and Anna gradually saw small signs of change in James. The first steps of the boy from the early days of living in the house seemed far from easy, but now he was starting to open up more. The mornings were no longer heavy, and every evening, when Anna came home, the boy no longer sat silently in the corner of the room. Instead, he came out to greet her, his eyes seeming brighter. However, Anna understood that this journey was not just about simple change, but rather a difficult battle for both of them. In the first few months, James faced many challenges in adjusting. Despite Anna's eager support, the wounds in his soul could not heal immediately. Every time he saw other children playing with their parents, James seemed to grow quieter, these moments making him remember the past, the lack and loss he had endured. Once, when the two of them went shopping, James couldn't hold back his emotions, and the boy started crying uncontrollably. Anna saw him sitting on the floor, hugging his knees, his face red with anger and despair, as though he had lost everything. "Why does a mom just leave me? I don't deserve to be loved. I'm just a neglected child." James sobbed, his voice filled with pain. Anna stood still, feeling each word as if it were a slap to her heart. She hadn't expected the old pain to still haunt the boy. She sat down beside James, gently stroking his hair, and said in a warm yet firm voice, "You are not a neglected child. I will always be here with you. You deserve to be loved. And I love you as if you were my own." Though James didn't speak, his gaze softened, no longer filled with rage, but replaced with doubt and worry. They sat there in silence, and it was the first time Anna felt a slight opening from James. A small sign, but a big step forward. However, James' inner struggle was far from over. The boy still often went through bouts of anger, moments when his self-restraint seemed to be pushed to the limit. Once again, Anna had to face a major challenge when James unexpectedly broke a mirror in the house. The boy had been angry, smashing the mirror after she had reprimanded him for not completing his math homework. She couldn't believe her eyes when she saw the shattered mirror, reflecting the brokenness inside James' soul. It was a fierce confrontation between her and him, between a mother's expectations and a child's unhealed wounds. "I can't do anything. I'll never be good enough," James yelled, his eyes red with frustration. Anna's heart ached seeing this, but she knew this was the moment she had to truly be patient. "You can do it, James. I believe in you," she replied resolutely, though her heart was filled with worry. But Anna couldn't let go. She couldn't let James fall into his own wounds. She couldn't let him return to the old path. She had made the decision to stay with him, no matter how many challenges they would face. And so the days passed, and James gradually learned to control his emotions. He started sharing his difficult feelings with Anna instead of letting them explode in angry outbursts. Sometimes he would still avoid talking about his past, but Anna noticed that the boy began to smile when playing small games, and occasionally, when looking at the drawings he made, she could see the changes. He had started to show brighter strokes in his art, with pictures no longer filled with loneliness or sadness, but beginning to feature images of family, joyful and peaceful moments. However, James not only faced internal struggles, but also had to deal with prejudice from the outside world. When James went to school, other children looked at him with strange eyes, sometimes with curiosity, but many times with unkind jokes. Once, when James came home from school, he refused to speak and even refused to eat dinner. Anna asked him, and eventually James broke down in tears. "I don't want to go to school anymore. The kids call me the foster mom's child. I'm not like them. I don't belong there," James said, his voice choked with emotion. Anna sat down beside him, not rushing to say anything, but simply holding the boy quietly. "You're a part of this family, James. I love you because you are my child, and you will always have a place to belong, where you feel safe and loved," Anna said, gently but firmly. She knew that no matter how many challenges James had to face from society, she would always be his solid support, a place where James could find love and acceptance. Even if there were harsh words outside, in this home, James would always be an inseparable part, her child, and a member of the family she had built with all her sacrifices and love. When summer came, Anna decided to take James on a picnic, a trip far from the city, where he could temporarily forget the worries and challenges at school. They went to a lush green forest, with clear streams and vast fields of flowers. For the first time in months, James seemed to find peace. He walked with Anna along the trails, and together they watched the sunset by the lake. In that moment, Anna felt that James had truly opened up more, no longer a lonely child searching for a place to belong, but a child beginning to trust in himself, in the family he had. James' growth was not an easy thing, but Anna had witnessed his remarkable progress. And when she saw him smile for the first time in all those difficult months, Anna knew this was just the beginning of a long journey. She also realized that this journey wasn't just about James' growth, but also hers, a journey of love, sacrifice, and challenges that only true motherhood could overcome. That spring, the winds gently blew through the living room window of Anna's home, carrying the crisp chill characteristic of transitional days. James had entered a new phase in his life, a turning point that Anna knew would lay the foundation for the great dreams the boy had been nurturing. After days of silence and fears in the dark, James had now begun to find his own light. He was no longer just a child avoiding encouragement. He was gradually revealing his hidden talents, the dreams that had long slept within him. Anna, as a true mother, always kept an eye on every step James took. She noticed the obvious changes in him. Every morning, he diligently sat down at the study table, no longer the insecure child he once was. In class, James began to participate actively, ask questions, engage in debates, and gradually became an outstanding student. One morning, after receiving an A on his math test, James turned to Anna with eyes sparkling with pride. "Mom, I did it," the boy said, his voice filled with both surprise and happiness. Anna smiled, feeling like a warm river was flowing through her heart, washing away all the worries and pain she had once shared with James. However, in the midst of these small joys, Anna knew that James' journey was not truly over. He still had to face many challenges, and sometimes old wounds resurfaced when he thought of the past. One day, when Anna asked James about his dreams, a simple yet encouraging question, James didn't answer right away. He sat still, his eyes seeming to look into the void, as though searching for an answer within himself. "Mom, I want to be a doctor," James finally said in a calm voice. "I want to help children like me, children who have no one by their side." Hearing those words, Anna's heart sank. She hadn't realized how big James' dream truly was. Abandoned children, children who needed care, love, and a chance to change their lives, were exactly what James hoped to provide. She smiled, comforted him, and said, "I believe you can do it. You're already doing very well." Though Anna still felt many worries in her heart, she knew that the boy had begun to recognize his dreams, and she would always be there to support him in every step. However, the road to James' dream was not always paved with roses. Though he had become more confident, there were still anxieties in his heart that couldn't be erased. One afternoon, while Anna was tidying up the kitchen, James entered and silently sat at the dining table. He didn't say anything, but his eyes were full of sadness, as if something was weighing heavily on his soul. Anna sat beside him, gently asking, "What are you thinking about?" James lowered his head and didn't answer immediately. After a moment, he spoke softly, "Mom, I'm afraid I'm not good enough to become a doctor. I see so many kids smarter than me. Can I do it?" James' words were an admission of the deep fears inside him. Anna, though fully understanding this feeling, also knew that this was the moment for James to recognize the strength within himself. "James, you don't need to be the best in everyone's eyes. You just need to be yourself and try your best. I believe you can do it because you have a big heart, and that's the most important thing. Don't compare yourself to others because everyone has their own path, and you've already started on the right one." Those words of encouragement, though simple, were like a flame that lit up James' soul. Gradually, the fears began to fade, and James focused more on his studies than ever before. He spent more time researching medicine, volunteering at hospitals and orphanages, where he could interact directly with children in difficult circumstances. Every time he cared for a child, James felt more certain that this was the path he wanted to follow. As time went on, James matured. Not only did he excel academically, but he also became a reliable friend and a dutiful child. One day, when James received an acceptance letter from medical school, Anna stood still, watching him with tear-filled eyes, full of pride. "Mom, I did it." James hugged Anna, his voice trembling. In that moment, Anna could not contain her emotions. From an abandoned child, the boy she had adopted was now someone who could reach for his own dreams. But more importantly, James had found his purpose in life, to bring change to the lives of children in need of love. He wasn't just studying to be a doctor. He was studying to become someone who could help children like himself, children who needed love, acceptance, and a chance to change their lives. And in that moment, Anna knew that the journey she and James had taken, from those early days full of uncertainty and fear to the steady steps they were taking today, was not just a story about a child's growth, but also about unconditional love, sacrifice, and the strength of a true family. The daily life of Anna and James had become more stable than ever after months of turbulence. Anna no longer felt the fear she once did when facing the challenges of raising James. She saw the boy growing up, becoming confident, and slowly turning into a promising young man. Although everything seemed calm, as people often say, life has its own way of testing us. And that was exactly what happened on a seemingly ordinary morning, just another typical workday for Anna until disaster struck. It was a beautiful sunny day, and as usual, Anna drove to the hospital. Trusted by her colleagues and patients, James began a long shift, handling emergencies and monitoring patients undergoing treatment. The long hours of work had made her tired, but she knew she couldn't afford to slack off. She had always adhered to one principle in her job: to pay attention to every little detail, because any oversight could endanger someone's life. But no one could predict what was about to happen, and it was James who would have to face the biggest challenge of his life. While James was preparing to handle a difficult case, he received an urgent call from the emergency room. Patient incoming, critical condition, traffic accident, possible severe trauma. James immediately stopped, his breath short, and jumped into his white coat, preparing to head into the emergency room. But when James entered, his heart seemed to stop. The sight he never thought he would see. The woman lying motionless on the emergency bed was none other than Anna, his mother. The shock hit him unexpectedly, and his mind could not process the reality fast enough. His heart raced, each beat feeling heavier and more painful. His mother, the person who had always been his support throughout the journey, was now lying in critical condition. While his fellow doctors started their life-saving procedures, James felt as though the world was spinning around him. He couldn't think, his mind was spinning, and all that remained was the image of his beloved mother, now lying motionless. Memories of her, of their time together, of the loving care she had given him, flooded his mind like a crashing wave. "Don't worry, Mom will be okay," James whispered, though no one heard him. He looked at his own body, feeling as if he was drifting away from himself, as if some unseen force was pulling him away from reality. James, at that moment, stood right in the emergency room, not understanding what was happening. He didn't know that his foster mother, the one who had taught him so much over the years, was facing a life or death challenge. When he entered the emergency room, he saw everyone busy with medical procedures, but his eyes immediately focused on one thing: Anna, lying there, motionless, her pulse weakening. James froze, his heart tightening. He couldn't stand to see his only foster mother in this condition. But then, something inside him erupted. An instinct he hadn't recognized before made him act. An instinct Anna had instilled in his heart over the years. Without thinking, James rushed toward the medical team at work. His eyes reddened, his hands trembling. But in that moment, he knew what he had to do. "Mom isn't going anywhere. She will live," James whispered to himself, as if making a promise he had to keep. Anna's words from earlier, about resilience and unconditional love, burned like a flame in his heart. He looked at the lead doctor, trying to stay calm, and said, "I know I can help. I can do it." Despite the hesitation and worry flooding his heart, James did not give up. He began applying the medical knowledge he had gained over the years, from his lessons at medical school to his internships at the hospital. Step by step, each procedure was carried out accurately under James' guidance, and gradually, Anna began to show signs of life. Although weak, she was no longer motionless. Her eyes slowly opened, and when she saw James standing right next to her, a sense of warmth spread through her heart. "James!" Anna whispered his name. Although James had gone through a tense moment, now his efforts were rewarded. Thanks to his determination and the help of the medical team, Anna had survived the critical situation. The nightmare of an inevitable death had passed, and in that moment, James felt that he had completed a sacred task, not only saving his foster mother's life, but also living out everything she had taught him over the years. He was no longer just a child who had learned from his mother, but a true son with the strength of love and sacrifice. After Anna recovered, the two sat together in the hospital room, the soft light shining in. James held Anna's hand, saying nothing, just letting his tears fall. "I did it, Mom," he said, his voice choked with emotion. Anna embraced him, feeling the power of unconditional love. Though life was full of challenges, they would always be there for each other. And in that moment, both realized that love and care would never fade, no matter the circumstances. James had saved Anna, not just with medical skills, but with all the love and gratitude he had for the only mother in his life. He had learned that sometimes, in the most critical moments, instinct and love would lead a person through challenges that seemed insurmountable. Autumn arrived, with yellow leaves scattered on the road outside, covering the ground with a soft layer of color that complemented the warmth inside Anna and James' home. After the terrifying event in the hospital, where James stood between life and death, the silence in the house now felt more precious than ever. Anna had recovered, but the scars left by the critical situation were not easy to erase. She felt as though she had passed through a threshold between life and death. And this time, it was James' unconditional love and sacrifice that saved her. This was an undeniable truth. In the days that followed, they were not just mother and son, but also companions, overcoming the challenges that life had brought them together. Anna sat on the sofa, her eyes gazing out the window, watching the gentle sunset. It was a rare, peaceful moment amid their busy lives. James stood by the door, watching his mother sit quietly, and a wave of worry rose in his heart. Although he had saved her, and everything seemed to have passed, there were still things that James could not escape. Every time he looked at his mother, he was reminded of the difficult times, the moments when he didn't know how to bring happiness to her. He understood that she wasn't just the one who saved him, but also the one who gave him boundless love. Anna's love for James was not only about physical care, but also an all-encompassing sacrifice, putting his needs before her own. Memories of the past came flooding back into James' mind. The first time he came to live with Anna, he was just a confused child, not knowing where he would go. Anna didn't just teach him how to study. She taught him about self-respect, patience, and love. He remembered the late nights when Anna stayed up caring for him when he was sick. He remembered the times she comforted him when he had nightmares, soothing him with gentle words that made him feel safe like never before. These seemingly simple actions were the profound values he could never forget. Anna was the one who gave him a real family, a sense of being loved, even though he didn't share her bloodline. But Anna's love wasn't just shown through actions. She never hesitated to sacrifice everything for James. Always, Anna put everything of hers aside to care for him. She passed up opportunities for career advancement, gave up personal passions, and dedicated all her time to him. There were times when she felt tired and lonely, but she never let that show. She persisted in nurturing James, teaching him, and doing everything she could to ensure he had a better life. Each time she saw James making progress, even if it was a small achievement, she felt that her sacrifices were worthwhile. And now, as James had grown up, become a mature young man with his own career, and gone far in his studies, Anna felt that she had completed her mission as a mother. But perhaps Anna's sacrifices didn't stop there. Even though James was no longer the child she had to care for, every meal and bedtime, the love she had for him remained unchanged. She understood that a mother will always sacrifice, always be ready to do anything for her child, no matter how much they've grown. One winter evening, as snow began to fall lightly outside, Anna stood by the stove, preparing a warm dinner. James returned home after a long week of working at the hospital, tired but still finding time for his mother. He walked in, saw her busy in the kitchen, and smiled warmly. "Mom, I'm so grateful for everything you've done for me," James said, his voice choked with emotion. Anna turned around, looked into his eyes, and felt that everything she had sacrificed was worth it. "You don't need to thank me, dear. I just want to see you happy. I just want you to have everything the best life has to offer," Anna replied, her voice calm but full of love. In that moment, James understood that everything his mother had done wasn't just for him, but for the great love she had for life. Over the years, she had given up her time, energy, and even her personal dreams to raise him, so that he could stand strong in life. Anna had taught James an important lesson. Love knows no limits, and sacrifice is an integral part of that love. He realized that it was because of those sacrifices that he had become the person he was today. His career and dreams could never have been achieved without his mother's love and sacrifice. And in that moment, in a warm kitchen with delicious food on the table, James looked into Anna's eyes and understood that the love he received from his mother could never be measured. It was a great love, an unconditional love without any need for reciprocation, just the love of a mother for her child. Love and sacrifice without limits. This was what James had learned from his mother. He knew that, no matter where he went or what he did, his mother would always be the one he loved and cherished the most. Anna stood by the living room window, looking outside. Winter had arrived, bringing with it sharp, biting winds, but inside her home, warmth filled the air. The scene outside became hazy with thick snow, but the atmosphere inside was filled with laughter and moments of togetherness. She couldn't help but reflect on the long journey she and James had traveled. It was a journey full of hardships and pain, but also one of love, sacrifice, and an unbreakable unity. Over the years, Anna had not only been James' foster mother, but also his companion, teacher, and the only protector in his life. She had not only given James a home, but also a real family, one filled with unconditional love, a place where he could find safety and a firm foundation. Anna had never stopped believing in James, and she had seen his growth with every step. Even when her family opposed her decision, even during tense moments, Anna had always believed that her love would help James overcome any challenge. And now, the boy she had adopted had become a strong, grounded young man with his own dreams and aspirations. The acceptance from Anna's family came at a time that both she and James couldn't have imagined. After the terrifying event in the hospital, when James saved her life in a life or death situation, everyone in Anna's family began to look at him differently. They no longer saw James as a child who didn't belong to them, but recognized that he was an irreplaceable part of the family. All the previous objections slowly faded, replaced by acceptance and acknowledgement. But not everyone in Anna's family was ready to open their heart immediately. Anna's father, a strict and conservative man, was the last to accept James. He had always had a traditional view on adopting a child who wasn't his biological one, especially one of a different race. He couldn't accept that his daughter had chosen such a different path. However, after witnessing the sacrifices James had made for Anna, especially the heroic act of saving her, he couldn't ignore it anymore. One afternoon, as the whole family gathered around the dinner table, he suddenly spoke up. "James," he said, his voice warmer than ever before, "I can't deny that you are an important part of this family. I'm proud of what you've done for Anna." These words from Anna's father made the entire room fall silent. Anna couldn't believe her ears. She turned to look at James, and in his eyes, she saw the gratitude and recognition he had longed for. James didn't say anything, but his bright eyes and radiant smile were the clearest answers. That moment marked the disappearance of the tension in Anna's family, replaced by harmony and acceptance. From then on, Anna's family truly united. James was no longer an outsider, but a real member of the family. His relationship with everyone gradually grew closer, with no more distinction or distance between him and the rest of the family, despite the difference in race. Together, they shared joys, sorrows, and important moments in life. Every meal, every holiday, every celebration, Anna's family was no longer just a formal family, but a real one where love and unity always prevailed. On one Christmas holiday, the whole family gathered together. In the warmth of the crackling fire, they exchanged gifts, laughed, and shared old stories. Anna looked at James, her eyes filled with pride. The boy she had raised had now grown into a responsible young man, with dreams and, most importantly, a heart full of warmth. She couldn't help but feel grateful for the challenging but meaningful journey she had shared with him. The difficult times, the days when James struggled to fit in, when he still carried deep scars, were now just memories. Everything had changed, and their family was built on love and sacrifice. The day Anna adopted James, she had no idea that she would gain so much more than she expected. She didn't just give James a family, but he gave her a lesson in unconditional love and limitless sacrifice. Anna's love was not just physical care, but a boundless spiritual sacrifice. She had given up everything for James, dedicating all her energy, affection, and strength to helping him overcome life's challenges. And now, as she looked at her family, Anna realized that every sacrifice had been worth it. They were no longer just people living under the same roof. They were people who truly loved and cared for one another. Anna's family was truly united, not just because of bloodlines, but because of love, understanding, and acceptance. James had become an irreplaceable part of their family, and that was the clearest proof that love can overcome all barriers and differences. When spring arrived, Anna's family gathered again, and this time, they weren't just a family in name. They were a real family, where love and unity formed a solid foundation, where every member felt valued, and no one felt like an outsider. Anna knew that she had made the right decision, and James, the son she had loved and sacrificed for, had now become a grown man who could be proud of his family. More than anything, he now had a real family, a family he could call home. The story of Anna and James is a journey through challenges and obstacles to find a real family. A family that is not merely connected by blood, but by the ties of unconditional love and sacrifice. However, if viewed through a simple lens, one might see only a mother adopting a child, helping him overcome emotional scars and guiding him into adulthood. Yet, at deeper levels, this story offers profound lessons on love, understanding, and the true meaning of family. First and foremost, this story demonstrates that family is not just a structure defined by blood relations. A true family is built on a foundation of love, sacrifice, and patience. Anna was not James' biological mother, but from the moment she adopted him, she not only took on the role of foster mother, but also became his friend and sole protector. Reflecting on her journey, Anna has no regrets. The hardships and challenges she faced raising James were all rewarded by his love and growth. She didn't just give James a home. She gave him a chance to change his life, to live in a real family, a place where he could be himself, where love transcended race, origin, or past. The story of Anna and James also reflects the patience and strength of unconditional love. Though the difficulties they would face were unpredictable, Anna never gave up. She always believed that if enough love was given, James would regain his trust in himself, in life, and in love. She didn't allow challenges or family opposition to deter her. Her perseverance not only helped James overcome his fears and past wounds, but also helped her understand herself, realizing that love and sacrifice are the most important values in life. This story teaches us that sometimes love does not need to be unconditional or reciprocated immediately. Love has the power to change a person, to help them rediscover their identity and purpose in life. Additionally, the story reflects James' growth, not just physically, but mentally. During his years with Anna, he not only learned to adapt to a new environment, but also learned valuable lessons in self-respect, patience, and appreciating what he had. From a neglected child with no one to love him, James gradually grew into a responsible person who knew how to love and appreciate those around him. He didn't just overcome past difficulties. He learned to continue life with an open heart. James not only found a family in Anna, but also found himself. His story is proof that children, no matter how abandoned or damaged, can find the light if they are loved and nurtured properly. The love in this story is not only the love between a mother and child, but also the love between people. The change in Anna's family, the acceptance from her father and brother of James, is a crucial part of the story. Although her family initially struggled to accept James, through his actions, they realized that love knows no bounds. The barriers of race, origin, and past began to fade when they saw the essence of James, the son they once doubted. James' act of saving Anna symbolizes the change not only in him, but also in the entire family. He proved that love and sacrifice can not only change a person, but also transform an entire family. The story also carries a profound message about acceptance and unity. Family is not something fixed or predetermined by biology. It is the choice of the heart. When a family opens its heart to welcome new members, regardless of where they come from, they will find the strength in unity. The acceptance in Anna's family is not just about accepting a child, but about opening hearts and binding those hearts together. This story shows us that sometimes embracing differences is essential for building a real family. Another important point in this story is the connection between the past and the future. Though James came from a difficult background, though he had to endure painful days and feelings of abandonment, it was Anna's love and sacrifice that helped him find a new path. This story shows us that no matter how dark the past, love and perseverance can change everything. The future is not what is predetermined, but the result of the choices we make today. Ultimately, the story of Anna and James is a testament to the strength of love and family. Love is not just about protection and care, but also about teaching sacrifice and overcoming the challenges of life together. This is a story about growth, acceptance, and change, not just of an individual, but of an entire family. Every step, every decision made by Anna and James has contributed to the creation of a true family, where love and sacrifice are the core values. This story will always remind us that love has no limits, and a real family is a place where everyone feels loved, understood, and accepted.